Let me come to you, Arnold. There's something that we actually did mention in terms of the pockets, whether people are actually feeling that. And there's seem to be quite an issue with the way taxes have been raised, that even if you are going to reduce the cost of flour, which has been a major concern in the country, there's still not going to be that major effect to the people's pockets, because now they still have to pay more as far as taxes are concerned.
The truth is that, and we should never try to, we cannot shy away from this. The truth is that we are not where we wanted to be, but we are not where we used to be. That is an achievement. So if you're going to look at this particular issue, but allow me first of all just to disabuse one of the notions he's tried to raise, that saying that data is not important. Data is the new oil. You're not going to do policy analysis without necessarily ensuring that data is sacred. The platform upon which data stays or comes from is so sacred that you cannot say that collection of data is not an achievement. Okay. It is an achievement because evidence-based policy making is premised on data and data only. Because if you were to reduce policy making into a simple, understandable process, then you just talk about 3 P's, that you have a problem. Around every problem, there's always politics. That's the second P. And the third P is that you come up with a program to solve this particular problem. This problem can simply be explained in data. If you cannot do diagnostics properly, if you don't get your data works properly, you can't build indicators. You cannot even know how to solve the problems therein, and you therefore cannot design a program to solve that particular problem. So data is important. But speaking of people not being able to feel it, it's important that we do not forget one thing. Against what backdrop is all this progress happening, or the progress we've made? Number one, all of us accept here that we've had a terrible debt situation. You look at newspapers, newspaper articles 4, 5, 7 years ago. The prophecy was that we will actually have gone under. I personally did a piece that I was looking at 5 years ago, and it describes the situation as is, about unrest and everything else. Out of every 10 shillings we collect, you have got about 7 that actually go out to taking care of debt. So there's that particular bit of it, but that does not then negate the fact that against such a situation, we have made this particular progress. So it's easy, if you were to look at it qualitatively, to say that things have not worked out. But just remember that we could be in a worse situation, because exactly where we are is what people thought that we would actually be far much worse. So we've stabilized the macro. There are a few things that we do not want to talk about. The runaway inflation, for example, worked out. And he will know that because he is actually an economist. He will know that. Look at a time when our currency against the dollar was actually running riot against the USD. We've worked around that. So on the macros, this government actually has been able, miraculously, and of course for him, he will easily point out and say that we are working with the IMF and other people, that is how we are working out well. But then we've been able to stabilize the macro. Now we are moving to this particular end to take care of the micro and these other issues. I say that people not being able to feel it entirely is actually understandable. It's a fact. I said we are not where we wanted to be, but we are not where we used to be, or where, if we didn't do anything, we should be.
So we are on the right track from where...
So from where we are looking at, against the backdrop from where we are coming from, honestly, we are making progress.
Okay. So you want to respond before I come?
I think I have a right of reply concerning what I just said. I think I'm very systematic in how I'm answering you. Data collection, I said, is very important, but it is not the thing we should celebrate William Ruto for. It's not a major achievement. After you collect data, what do you do with this data? You analyze this data to give you a policy formulation on the way forward. So according to William Ruto's data analysis, he's found it, this is the way forward for the policies. What we found from the data, let's stop Kenyans from sharing indigenous seeds. Let's pass bylaws in this country that if you are caught,
the Parliament has corrected
that if you are caught sharing these indigenous seeds, then you're going to face, just like what you said, that very soon people will have to face a court of law for defying a village elder.
Okay.
They need to tell us what does defying a village elder means. What if I defy a village elder when they tell me the government has said go and hang yourself, and then I say I'm not going to hang myself? Will I be taken to court because I defied the elder? So we need to redefine all these things. So William Ruto has killed, and what he's doing, he's trying to sell fear to Kenyans, so that his main purpose is to rule his way how he thinks it should be done, by killing every accountability system in this country. And that is what we are saying we shall not allow. And this is where Kenyans have lost trust with him, my brother. Number two, on matters of what he has said, on matters macroeconomics, the only thing that is helping us up there with our macro policies is loans from IMF. A very senior government official sometimes back came and said, if the IMF doesn't come through with these billions we want right now, the dollar is going to scale to 300. You know, we are supposed to do a balance of trade balancing dollar because of what we are sending out in terms of export, other than what we are getting as loans. And that is why I'm saying, my brother, in terms of numbers, William zimemchenga, and he will continue doing politics. But in terms of numbers, he can't prove anything with numbers, because numbers don't lie, but William Ruto lies all the time. Okay,
this is the thing. Talk to me about, I want to bring you in just a moment. Talk to me about this, the state of the economy that we currently have in the, have we made strides to a you know, a greater extent in terms of positive strides, or are we at our speed?
Bad. We are playing negativity. William Ruto, the only thing he understands is overtaxing Kenyans. Why are you passing laws to overtax, for Kenyans to pay tolls on the roads that they have already paid the taxes for, in terms of the loans that were acquired to build these roads? Kenyans continue to pay taxes on these roads for using them, in terms of the fuel levies, the taxes on the fuel. So what William Ruto understands is overtaxing. William Ruto does not understand the art of creating something new like Kibaki and expanding the taxation bracket by reducing taxes and encouraging productivity. That is a language that William Ruto will never understand.
Right. On the issue of taxes, Stephen, you talked about increasing the tax base, expanding the tax base, and you know, to some extent brought about quite discontent from all the way from 2023 to now 2024, especially the Finance Act 2023, and now with the Finance Bill 2024. All those attempts to try and you know, raise more money from Kenyans. How do we get to balance that?
Well, thank you, Brian. I think these two gentlemen have taken a lot of time to back and forth with each other, so I'll take my time also to try and explain some of the things that I view. In terms of the economics, this country, like I said, by the time we were coming into the 2022 elections, there was no other way that Kenya would go except through a very tough, hard economic period like we have gone through. That was a given. Number two, there was no other way that any administration that took over after Uhuru Kenyatta would have to survive this particular situation, considering there was a drought, there was hard economic times that were caused by the Ukrainian war between Russia and Ukraine. All of these global circumstances came together to create a cocktail of problems that no matter who sat on that seat was going to have problems. But what we failed to do, and what we are failing to do, and coming to your question, was the question of explaining this very clearly to Mwananchi. The lack of proper communication to Mwananchi is where this whole thing has come to a miss. Now, can it be done better? Much it can be done. What the president needs to do is to engage further with Mwananchi on what exactly is meant to come. These sporadic statements by our new CS that you know that he's going to cut down corporate tax, income tax and things like those within the next 3 years, that does not help. You need to tell Mwananchi, before I get to the point of cutting, what do I need to do until then? These are the conversations that we need to genuinely have. Two, we need to actually get down to fixing what we need to do in terms of making sure money goes to the pocket of Mwananchi. There is a lot of pending bills, and I keep saying this, a lot of pending bills in this republic that need to be sorted out so that people don't end up going broke. There are a lot of people who are suffering because money is tied up in county governments, money is tied up in national government. Two, we need to make sure that whatever money that we do get actually gets to the counties when it is required. You have the Council of Governors talking about 90 billion not being rendered to counties. The last payment that was received 2 weeks ago was from the month of June. What we are doing is that we are killing the little operations that are existent in this country that help Mwananchi to find something small to eat back at home. Because when the civil servants in the villages there are staying without paying rent for 3 months or are unable to cater for their food, that's where the whole thing cascades and becomes a problem for the entire republic. So we need to take cater to devolved governments. Number 3, we need to level out and finish this corruption thing. The president firing people, he has shown us he has the courage to fire people. So why are we not going after the principal secretaries who are thieves? The chairmen and CEOs of parastatals who are stealing left, right, and center. Those people should be going home as quickly as possible. 4th, we need to also get rid of corruption in the counties, because this is what is actually going to help this republic. 5th, we need to cut down on this rhetoric of politics. In fact, if I was the president, I would call... I'll be very categorical. If I was the president right now, I would cut down those attack dogs who are creating division within his own administration. Somebody like Imani Ishungwa and the senator for Kericho, Aaron Cheriot. Why would you stand somewhere and start talking against a whole sitting deputy president? They saw what happened to the president when he was a deputy president. So these seeds of discord are the things that are making Mwananchi feel you people are not listening to us. 5th, I want the president to form a team that actually listens to Mwananchi. There's a problem somewhere, and it's an issue whereby nobody is listening to Mwananchi. When Gen Z came and they said they had certain things that they wanted sorted out in this republic, nobody has actually come to address those issues, including an acting IG. Imagine an acting IG defying court orders to just go and give a story of exactly what he thinks as an IG might have happened in this republic. When we have civil servants and people working for the government and working for the president refusing to operate within the parameters of the law, that is why the president looks naked and this administration looks like it is confused. It is super important for the next few weeks and next few months of this particular administration to take the time to talk to Mwananchi directly. Have more people like Maliba saying the real things. Have people like me who are going to be speaking the truth to power. Because the problem we have in this country is that we have people who are just hiding issues under the table.
All right. Maliba, I want to bring you in on this one. In terms of have people that are going to be speaking to Mwananchi. Has that been a greatest miss, probably? And I know we talked about it when we actually started, whereby there's been lack of communication from actually where you sit. That's exactly what you mentioned. Has that been the greatest miss? Because some people have accused the government of not being in touch with the ground.
First of all, allow me, I think this is a very important conversation for us to have. First of all, there is the function of representation in law. It cuts across the executive and even the legislature. That function number 1 for those who are elected to the legislature is representation. Sometimes the concept of representation can be a little bit elastic, because how do you define interest? How then do people feel that they belong and such? So in a society like ours, having that really having a universal agreement around it might be a problem. But allow me to begin on this particular end. It's important to remind parliamentarians that they are an arm of government, a very important arm of government, that when parliament sits down, that is the national delegates council for the nation. That is, as a country, that is the topmost organ. And that people went to parliament and attempted to touch it is what really we are not talking about, is that the people impeached parliament, first of all, collectively and even individually. The problem in parliament is that members of parliament are obsessed with the individual acts of heroics as individuals and not really focusing on the institution that is parliament. You do not stand out tall and proud when the institution that you work for, the institution on whose name you actually are christened as a member of parliament, you can't go out there looking all good and clean when the institution, parliament needs to not go back to business as usual. sometimes you look at the confidence level the public has in parliament, and it almost rates to the law. Sometimes they even compete the police. I'm thinking that it's time parliamentarians actually listened to what people did and not go back to business as usual. Because now just that we've got a little bit of a calm, they've gone back to business as usual. And I don't think that is right. Those are the first people to speak. You are speaking about people who speak. Those are the representatives. Who are representatives? In Kiswahili, tunawaita wajumbe. Wanatumwa na ujumbe wa wananchi, na wakipata majibu, wanawarudishia nini ama wanawarejeshia nani? Wanawarejeshia wale walio watuma. Are they communicating the right thing? Are they communicating solutions? That doesn't seem to be the case. Way before you come to what the government of the day is doing. But members of parliament, every area in this country has got a member of parliament, a representative. And they must consider themselves government. They are not outsiders. A lot of times you will hear those who are not in Kenya Kwanza saying that we are not in government. Yet you are paid by the public coffers. You are in government. Second thing is that the people given work to communicate, the people given work to, not really to communicate, but people given the business of delivering. You know, development is like Christianity. Again, allow me to go that particular direction.
Okay, just a few minutes because I'm running out of time. That
you should preach by your lifestyle. And words only come to compliment. So the work down there, you can actually see a member of, I'm talking about a cabinet secretary. I have seen a cabinet secretary, for example, and because I am in-house, I will not mention which, who puts up a post on Facebook and gets less than 6 comments. That is definitely a problem. And he's doing something in his ministry that affects so many people, actually millions of people. So those given work to deliver by the president must, and allow my language, do their damn job. Because when the president gives you a job, and somehow the president has to come and defend you. Why, for example, would I hire a guard if I have to defend my guard against the people he should be
defending you against?
He should be defending me against. So the president should not be defending cabinet secretaries. It's the cabinet secretaries who are the first line. They are not doing that. So we've got several levels way before. In my case, by the way, you really need to apologize to the UDA fraternity. The UDA fraternity, as the leader of society, has done so much to ensure that actually there is a level of sanity. If we were doing the madness that we see in other parties, this country would actually have long banned.
All right. Okay. I'm running out of time, but I want to take a minute for each one of us to just comment on the issue of unemployment that we've been able to, we're experiencing in the country, and the move by the head of state, to try and, export labor to some extent, because this is out in Germany trying to get into a deal that will see, create jobs for the youth out abroad. It has been a conversation that a lot of people have not been able to take it kindly and saying, why are you looking for jobs for us abroad instead of creating jobs for the people here in the country by creating an enabling environment for the private sector to be able to thrive so that they can actually get to create jobs? Because to some extent the argument has been the government does not create jobs, so it just makes an environment. So why are we not seeing that? Why do we have to go abroad? Let me start with your minute.
Because William Ruto has mastered the art of to camouflage. He knows what to say and he does not know how to do it. I'm sorry to use those words, because when you say that William Ruto has lost touch with the ground, your own words, I don't think that's true, because he's ever campaigning. He's always on the campaigning mode. I think this is the only president we have seen who is in office that's constantly with the people campaigning. He's always on the ground, but people are saying are not feeling his presence. Why? Because when William Ruto was campaigning, he was campaigning like a Kibaki. But when he took power, he's behaving like a Moi. So he has put the entire nation in a limbo of confusion, okay? We don't know where we are. We don't know where to go. You said you will do this, you have not done. You said you will create jobs, you have not created jobs. You said you will give the young people, substantial amount of starting businesses. You're giving them the best you can give them is 500, 300 shilling for your hustler fund. So the youth of this country are not even feeling William Ruto's promises. And I agree with you, it is not in the business of government to create employment for the people. It is in the business of government to create an environment for the people. Does overtaxation environment create an environment for young people to thrive in this business? Give the young people of this country, give the millennials and the Gen Zs, you know, favorable policies. How do you create? I think you've been very fair with others. Be fair with me kindly.
No, I'm totally out of time.
You know, William Ruto, you see, you're making me miss my point. So William Ruto needs to be this kind of a figure that if he says we are going to do this, let us see him doing it. But you can't tell the Gen Zs, I want to take you to abroad. I want you to take you to Arab countries. I want you to take there. When we are exporting the best of our labor, because these guys don't take people without certificates or people who are educated to some certain degree. We are exporting the people who can fix the mess of this country. We are in a crisis of production. Who will do production if it is not these people we are sending out? So who are we leaving in this country to create this country? You see, that's the kind of a president we are dealing with.
All right, thank you so much for that. I'm totally out of time, so I'll give you 30 seconds.
Yes, so I'm fully supportive of the president's duty to go and look for jobs elsewhere. I mean, there are economies which can absorb a great number of people. If Germany alone can take 200,000 youth, I am all for it. Take the youth there, let them get the jobs there. But here locally, make sure you pay the pending bills. Make sure that you put money into these affirmative action funds that help entrepreneurs of young people to be able to do what they need to do, and take care of the private sector. Make sure you create a conducive environment to ensure that the private sector is not leaving the country, but they're coming and flocking in so that they can be able to do business and set up industry and help our people, and take advantage of the mineral sector and sectors of the economy that can actually generate new forms of income. And agriculture must be fixed. Let's get rid of the scandals. Let's get rid of the theft. Let's get rid of the corruption in agriculture. Fix agriculture, you are set.
All right. Arnold, final remarks as
quickly, Mwakesi has mentioned pending bills like 3 times. Whatever MDA, ministry, department or agency that actually owes him, please pay Mwakesi. But moving on very fast, it's important to say this, that the formal sector in this country only creates 50,000 jobs per year. The blue collar, just below the white collar job, we've got about 150 jobs per year. There is then about 700,000 people who arrive at the workplace, 700 to 800,000. Sometimes it's estimated to 1 million. A bulk of about 600,000 people then join the pata-potea economy. Wherever we can get jobs and our people can get there, it's very, very important that we put there. There are only 3 million people today, about 3 million people in the formal sector. 1 million is actually employed in the public sector by government. The other KFKE, the other people who speak so much big English, only employ about 2 million people. So where then do we get our people working? When we argue about who's going to fix the country and who cannot fix the country, and we're exporting brains and everything else, man is actually here as a steward. Stewardship also entails working. So as we work and do the work, we actually go out, we get out to do there. Let's provide people with an opportunity to work. What the president is doing in Germany is actually to ensure there are a few of those people who might be here, because the jobs they actually live here and go to take up elsewhere. Somebody else actually picks them, and they will not be outsiders, they will be Kenyans. So be that as it may, we are fixing home, but we are also going abroad to come and build home. So there is nothing wrong with that.
I thought the jobs that he's looking for, you know, outside this, because there are people that are unemployed here, not because
we have got people here who are qualified. If you leave your job here today, somebody else will pick. If you were to go to Germany, I can tell you we will have a show next week and somebody else will be seated there. And that is progress.
All right.
Allow me to say this. It will be very unfair if I do not say this. Mr. President, the people of Kenya do not trust you. Kindly, there is a very emotive issue in this country of the Endarasha, the hillside school that burned. Or rather, the DCI came out only 4 days after the incidents. Please kindly give a proof that these children with their parents. Kindly do that, and you know, give a chance, give Kenyans a chance to trust you again by proving that all the children have been restored to their parents, and that we are only burying 21 children. If you do that for this country, we will start gaining trust with you.
The government did say that.
You know, we don't trust this government.
So if you don't trust them,
when you want to get information, if you
exactly, you don't trust
them to give you information, but you don't trust
them. You know, the media house, you told us that the people of Kenya don't trust William Ruto. Were you right or wrong?
we are saying, you asked a question.
Were you
the
right or were you wrong?
The CICT already answered that.
And that's what you're saying. We say
source.
the government did clarify that and say nobody was missing, and every child has been able to be accounted for. Right up.
If they do that,
we
to
wrap
us,
it
we'll
there.
be okay.
Okay, so the manifesto was 250,000 housing units per year. That was supposed to be 500,000 in 2 years. Only 94,000 have been built so far. My name is Brian Amoy. Thank you so much for making time for this conversation this morning. Yes, let's do this again next time when God wills. My name again is Brian Amoy. On behalf of everyone that made this a success, I do want to thank you so much for watching. Of course, Willie Kimani there, Willie Kamau, sorry, Arnold Maliba, and of course, Stephen Mwakesi. Thank you so much for making time.
Thank you.
All right, good morning.
It's time to turn up the heat with the ultimate reggae and dance hall experience.